In 1946, Elizabeth Short's dream arrived in Los Angeles. At just 22 years old, attractive and ambitious, she came in search of her place in the world of cinema. She lived in the haze of Hollywood, where the busy streets and bright lights seduced her with their promises. She dreamed of becoming a star, especially as the media often highlighted young women who succeeded in Hollywood. Although she hadn't yet been given a real opportunity, hope pushed her forward. Her dream was full of allure, but something dark was waiting for her in the shadows. But life in Hollywood wasn't as she imagined it. Elizabeth moved from one place to another, shifting between temporary apartments and unstable living situations, searching for somewhere she could feel at home. Although she was desperately trying to find an opportunity in the film industry, things were becoming harder. Her dream began to melt under the weight of reality. In a city of shining lights, she felt as if she was slowly fading away. As time passed, a sense of loneliness overwhelmed her, and she began to question if her dream was worth all the struggle. During this time, Elizabeth met someone who would have a significant impact on her life: Robert Manley. He was a man from Hollywood, seemingly knowing the keys to life in this bustling city. What began as a simple encounter quickly evolved into a closer relationship. Elizabeth found in Robert the comfort she had lost, as he offered her advice on how to survive in Hollywood. She accompanied him to crowded places, and over time, her life became more organized with his presence. But within this man lay a great mystery that Elizabeth hadn't yet uncovered. On the evening of January 9th, 1947, Elizabeth Short disappeared without a trace. No one heard from her or knew where she was. The last time she was seen, she was with Robert Manley, and after that, she vanished as if she had evaporated into thin air. Her friends and family began searching for her, but there was no sign. Days passed without any new developments, and the anxiety among those who knew Elizabeth grew. No one realized that her disappearance was just the beginning of a horrifying mystery that would remain etched in history. On January 15th, 1947, a week after her disappearance, Elizabeth's body was found in a park near the Los Angeles neighborhood. The body was horrifically mutilated, cut into 2 parts. The details of the crime were shocking. This was not just a murder, but a meticulously planned crime. The body was disfigured, the blood drained, and the face bore signs of deliberate destruction. When the police arrived at the crime scene, shock was everywhere, and the entire city was in disbelief. The killer had left deliberate clues, but nothing could reveal their identity. Upon examining the body, investigators realized the crime was more than just a murder. The body was severed into 2 parts, placed in a terrifying position. The wounds were precise, and the evidence suggested a deliberate dismemberment, almost as if the killer was sending a message. Additionally, signs of torture were evident, leaving the investigators bewildered. The crime seemed like a battle between the killer and the victim, but no one knew exactly what message the killer was trying to convey. With the discovery of the body, the investigation into the case began immediately. The police began collecting evidence, carefully examining the scene, but found nothing that could point to the killer. The case was full of mystery, and as the investigation progressed, more questions arose. Who had the motive to kill Elizabeth in such a brutal way? Did she know the killer? Was the crime random, or were there other indications pointing to something larger than just a murder? The police didn't have any clear answers. As the investigation progressed, mysterious phone calls began arriving at the newspapers, where the caller claimed to be the killer. The caller provided strange details about the crime that could only have been known by the person who committed it. Initially, the investigators thought the caller was just seeking attention, but as time passed, they began to take the calls seriously. The calls were filled with cryptic hints, making the case even more complex. While the investigation continued quietly, the newspapers started covering the case like never before. Elizabeth Short's name became a headline, and the media focused intensely on the crime. Local and national newspapers highlighted horrifying details about the murder, making the case resonate widely. Each newspaper added new details, but still, there was no answer regarding the killer's identity. As the investigation intensified, the police interrogated several people who had been part of Elizabeth's life. Robert Manley was questioned, having spent time with her before her disappearance, but no evidence was found to incriminate him. Additionally, other names emerged, people who had been connected to Elizabeth, each carrying their own mysteries. But with each interrogation, the questions grew and the answers remained elusive. The newspapers began to talk about possible connections between Elizabeth Short and famous Hollywood figures. Rumors surfaced about past relationships, and Elizabeth's name was linked to individuals with questionable reputations. But investigators couldn't find any solid evidence tying any of these celebrities to the case. It seemed the media was focusing on sensationalizing the details, while the truth remained beyond reach. As weeks passed, the investigation began to stall. No new evidence emerged, and the case remained mired in darkness. Speculation increased among the public, and the longer the investigation dragged on, the more rumors about the crime spread. The media and the public began to question the police's ability to solve the case. While the investigators worked tirelessly to uncover the mystery, in the following months, investigators discovered letters containing strange details that might be connected to the crime. Some of the letters hinted at the involvement of people in Hollywood, while others talked about Elizabeth's relationships with different individuals. However, there was nothing substantial to confirm the letters' direct connection to the case. Ultimately, after years of investigation, the police decided to officially close the case in 1950. There was not enough evidence to identify the killer, and the case became one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. No one could determine who the killer was, or why Elizabeth Short had been killed in such a horrific manner. Despite the case being closed, it was reopened multiple times over the years, especially when new evidence or claims from suspects emerged. But even today, the crime of the Black Dahlia remains unsolved, still one of the greatest mysteries in history. The source of the case. The Black Dahlia case occurred in Los Angeles, California, in 1947, and was officially closed in 1950, despite numerous attempts to reopen the case and investigate new evidence. The crime has not been solved to this day.